Hello.
Hi, I'm Chloe,
And I'm Vanessa.
and we're part of the Design 39 tech team.
And
Hi guys.
Hi. Basically, what we do is we help others with tech, and we want
To teach others how to use Storybird.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that plan. That's a good plan.
Okay, so let's start. Tell us about yourself and what you do.
Okay, well, the easy part is I'm the CEO and co-founder of Storybird, which means that I'm one of the people who originally came up with the idea for Storybird. In fact, it came up as an idea because of a book that I made with my son that we gave to my wife as a present. And I really enjoyed that process so much that I wanted to figure out a way to do that for other people. So I worked with some friends, we started working on different ideas, and eventually that turned into what is now Storybird. So that's my role as a co-founder, but my role as a CEO means that I run the day-to-day of the company. I make sure we have the right people working at Storybird. I make sure that we're focused on doing the right things, because there's so many things to run a company. And connecting that, making sure there's the right people, making sure we're working on the right things, and then also making sure we have money in the bank so we can keep paying them to keep working on the things so that people like you and students around the world can continue using Storybird. So that's what I do day to day. My background is that I've been working in design and media for most of my career. I started off as an editor in film, and then I moved into digital technology. And I made interactive mysteries and a bunch of entertainment, things like that for people all around the world. And then I spent some time working for some big companies like Apple and Starbucks and BMW, helping them design things for the web and for smartphones and iPhones and things like that. But eventually I got tired of that and I wanted to do my own thing. And that's where Storybird came around. So that's a little bit about me and a little bit about what I do.
Okay.
And what are some ways you can use Storybird?
Wow, there's a lot of ways. Now, I have to say, when we started, we didn't think of all the ways you could use Storybird. We had just started thinking about the idea of two people, maybe a mother and her daughter, or a grandparent and her kid, her grandchild, making a story together. And that was sort of where we started. When we first created the original first versions of Storybird, before you saw it or anyone else saw it, we thought we were going to have two different things happening. Somebody would be writing, but then somebody would be drawing pictures. And then we would bring those two things together. Because that's what I did with my son when we made that book for my wife that I mentioned. But we found that it was really hard to get the drawing part right. I don't know, can you, do you guys draw, like either of you?
Yeah, I do a lot.
I'm pretty bad at drawing.
I'm good. I love it.
Well, you see, that's such a great response, because there are a lot of people like both of you guys where some can draw, but a lot of people can't draw. And we found that not only for many people was it hard to draw, but drawing and getting your pictures into an online environment where you could add the story to it, it was just frustrating for a lot of people. And my co-founder and I, Kay, we have worked with a lot of artists in our career, and we noticed that a lot of them were making beautiful art and sharing it on their blogs, but not sharing it anywhere else. And so we went to a lot of them and said, well, what if you allowed us to use that art and we put it into this library that we have so that other people could use that as a way to start telling stories? And that's really how we came up with kind of the magic of Storybird. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I think for most people, the initial reaction to Storybird is, oh my God, that art is so beautiful. And you get excited about a character or an artist or something, and then you start telling a story. So when we figured that out, we thought, okay, well, parents and kids are going to make stories this way. But the whole idea of artwork being exciting and beautiful, we started noticing that everybody who came across Storybird got excited about it, and especially teachers. So we're now, Storybird is in about 600,000 classrooms around the world, about 300,000 schools, and about 7 million people use it. And they use it in many different ways. Some use it to teach language. So I don't know about your classroom. Maybe you can tell me about that. But most English language classrooms use it to get kids thinking about writing stories. But a lot of libraries use it as a way for people to find stories that they can read. At home, a lot of kids just use it as a way to tell stories for their family, but there are others who use it as a way to tell stories for their friends. Sometimes people will come to Storybird just to read stories, and they love the adventure stories or the romance stories, and they don't want to write at all. Others will go and just look at the art and make comments because they love the art so much. So we found that there are literally thousands of different ways that people use it, and it's a simple tool, which means that people can use it in many different ways, and that's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
How do you guys use it? Do you write a lot? Do you read a lot?
We write and read.
I read a lot every morning. I read it.
And I like to read a lot of stories on it.
So what are your favorite kind of stories to read? Like what categories? Is it funny stories, scary stories, adventure stories?
I like adventure and funny.
Yeah.
I like mystery, and I like mysteries.
I like mystery too. My wife writes mystery books, so I'm a big fan of mysteries. Now, you said you're a writer, so what kind of stories do you like writing?
I like writing like fun, friendship, adventurous stories.
Yeah, and so do you share that with friends and family, with classmates? You do it just for yourself privately? How do you?
Friends and family.
See, and that's another example. Sometimes people will write and then they won't share it with anybody. Sometimes people will write and then they'll print it out and they just want a book. Sometimes they'll make a book as a gift. So a lot of moms will make books for their young kids and give that to them for their birthday. Like you, there are some who will go on and write and then share it with friends, but not family. Some will share it with family, but not friends. So you get a really big mix of people.
Yeah. What makes Storybird stand out from other apps and sites like Storybird?
Well, I think again, it's the art. I mean, there's a few things that have kind of added up over the years that make it different, but at the core of it, it's artwork, right? If you guys remember the first time you saw it, maybe a friend or a teacher introduced you to do it, you might start looking at some stories, but you go to the create section and you just see all this different art and your mind gets going and you get kind of excited about it. And I think that keeping art at the center of the experience has been probably the most important piece for us. And a lot of people have said, don't do that. A lot of people have come to us and said, we want to upload our own artwork, or we would like to be able to edit the artwork. We want to be able to take a background and add characters in the foreground. And we've talked to people about it, we've tested these things out, and we found that the second greatest thing that we have done is that we've kept everything super simple. And we've also made a lot of restrictions. Like you guys know, you've used Storybird, you can't go into the editor and change the size of the type, like the words. You can't change the color of it. You can't edit the artwork. You can't take a character that you like and cut and paste it into something else. And we did that because we wanted to focus everybody on just two things, being inspired by the artwork and then just writing and not having to think about anything else. As soon as you start playing with the art and editing it and changing the type size and everything else, you stop thinking about the story you're writing and you start fussing with things. And you're a writer, so you know, sometimes when you're not sure what to write, it's really good to be distracted, right? Because you don't know what to write. And so sometimes you enjoy being distracted and then you never end up finishing your story because writing stories is hard. So we try and get rid of all those distractions. And I think that's the second most important thing. Artwork is first. Making it easy and simple and distraction-free is the second. And then I think putting it up on the internet and allowing anybody to use it for free has been the third most important piece. Because it means people like you found it without any trouble. Teachers can use it for free and bring it into the classroom. We have people all around the world. There's 7 million people, but we're in every country in the world, and we're in small villages where they barely have access to the internet. We're in big cities. We're in libraries where they're trying to, a lot of libraries are going through a hard time because their funding that they're getting to run the library is getting cut back. So they have to find new ways to get people like you excited about writing and reading. And because we put Storybird up in the cloud on the internet, so to make it free, anybody can use it. So I'd say those three things are like the most important to Storybird.
Why would kids around the world enjoy Storybird?
Well, I think kids around the world are just like you guys, and they're just like my son, and they're just like me. We all love stories, right? I mean, we use stories every day. We use them in the obvious ways, right? So you said in the morning you like, reading something, and you like writing. Mm-hmm. So that makes sense. But stories aren't just about entertainment, right? If you're a writer, stories are a great way for you to get in touch with your feeling, right? I don't know if you've ever done this, but I know sometimes when I'm excited about something or sad about something, writing helps me better understand how I'm feeling. And I think that's something that a lot of people enjoy about writing. And that's the same for kids all around the world. Also, stories are really important. Think about, like, when you get to school in the morning and you're talking with your friends and you're telling them about what happened at home last night. Yeah. What are you doing?
We're telling a
story.
That's right. You're telling a story, right? You're saying something about, what happened with mom and dad, or your sister or your brother or some friends. Maybe there's some drama. Maybe something was missing, or a friend and you had a fight. And you're thinking about, how do I tell this story? There's a hero, maybe a villain. There's like these details that you want to tell. You don't want to tell too much, but you don't want to tell too little. We're always telling stories all the time, even if it's not for entertainment. Sometimes your teachers, they're telling you stories. I'm sure you're, Billy, who's beside you guys, when you guys are going over a lesson or thinking about ideas, he's sharing stories with you about how other people may do things or how different people think about problems. It's all stories. So everywhere around the world, people want the same thing. They want to be able to say the things they want to say clearly, and they want to be able to understand what other people are saying. And reading and writing helps you do that better and better.
Okay.
Yeah. Why do you think they invented
Storybird?
Well, he helped invent it.
Wait, repeat that question again. Why
do you think they invented Storybird? But you already answered that.
As if you weren't you as a student. Why do you think they invented Storybird?
Oh, you mean if I wasn't the inventor of Storybird, why would I think somebody invented Storybird?
Uh-huh.
Well, if I were you guys, I would probably be thinking, it's so many things we use today are, they're on our phones, they're on our computers. And if you think about books and you think about writing, think about before the internet you guys have only been around during the internet, but think about the fact that with your iPads or your laptops or your phones, you can write something and share it with other people really easily, right? You just tap a few buttons and it's off to mom and dad, or it's off to your friends or your classmates. And I think that if I was, young again and where you guys are, I would think somebody created this because it's just so easy to tell stories, and because stories are so important, that why not make it so that everybody can get their hands on it? But I still think that I've seen a lot of writing sites. We have a lot of people who have tried to copy Storybird, do things like Storybird, or who don't try to copy Storybird, but they try other things. And I find that for many people, especially younger writers and readers, like I said, there's about 7 million of us on Storybird. About 80% of that is, they're between the ages of around 7 to 15. Like that's sort of the core age group.
Yeah.
And slightly more female. Like there's about 60% of the people on Storybird are female. So just a few more on the female side than the male side. But I think at the end of the day, the fact that, the artwork just gets you so excited and gets you drawn into, I need to tell that story. Or if you see a new book coming out and it's got a beautiful cover or some really interesting artwork in it, you just want to read it. I think, again, that's really what's special about Storybird. And I think that's just like you guys, that's what I would be attracted to. And I would think, wow, what a smart idea. Now, I have a question for you guys. I'm curious about something. So another thing that's come up over the years is that people have said to us, you should use famous artwork on your site. Because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but one of the things we focus on are independent artists. These are artists all around the world who work for themselves. The characters they make are completely original, just like the stories on the platform. The artwork is all original. So there's no Harry Potter artwork, and there's no Marvel like Captain America. There's no Barbie artwork. And people have said over the years, we should go and talk to those guys and get their artwork on the platform so that other people can use it. And we've said, if we put artwork from Harry Potter or Barbie or other places on Storybird, we're worried that the stories that kids are writing would become less original because they would get so focused on what those stories already are that it would narrow their imagination about what you could do. And we continue to think that's the right thing to do. But I'm curious, if you were in charge of Storybird, would you take artwork from famous books and movies and put it on the platform, or would you leave it away?
I would leave it away because that artists that are already there are very well at being themselves, and and it's also good because I see many artworks that makes my imagination go, oh, I can write with this artwork, I can write this story, or when I look at a new book, oh, this one looks mysterious, but it might be a different genre. So
And you should leave those popular pictures out there because when you see the new photos, it's going to go like boom, because like I have a big imagination.
Exactly. And that's the thing we want to do is that just like a pump on a bicycle or something, we just want to keep making your imaginations bigger and bigger. And I think when you see things that you've already seen in other places, it starts to shrink your imagination, and we don't want to do that.
So where could Storybird use an improvement?
Lots of places. So I'll bet this is something you've noticed. When you're trying to tell a very particular story and you go to an artist's catalog, you'll find some art that you like, but it's not all the pieces you need. Then you say, okay, well, I'll search for that art. And then you search. Maybe you're looking for a dog, but then all you get are just all dog pictures. But you only wanted one dog picture, but you wanted another cat picture from another artist. So there's no way for you guys to say, I want this picture and this picture and this picture and this picture and make a collection of your own and then put that inside the editor to write a story. So we're working on something called collections, which will allow you, if you're writing, to create art boards that you can just go around and choose whatever art, save it onto an artboard, and then just use that as a special artboard for your story. But that same collection would also be good for people who want to put together packages of stories. So if you read 5 different stories from 5 different authors that you liked, you could make it like a reading list, and then you could share that reading list with other people. So collections is one very big thing that we're excited about.
yeah, it sounds like a good idea.
There's a few other things that we're really working on, which the feed right now, if you follow people, it's very clunky, it's too big. People make so much poetry and it clutters everything up. So we want to basically make the feed much simpler and faster so that you can catch up on things that people are doing much easier. We want to do some really interesting things with the poetry app so that there's more different types of, again, collections, so that there might be like a romance or an adventure collection where the word sets and the artwork are kind of thematically pulled together. So you could open up like an adventure pack and it's all adventure artwork and adventure words. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's really
cool. For teachers and educators, we're working on something called lesson plans. So I don't know if you guys in school have seen that your teachers can use something called assignments, and that they can make an assignment and give it to you. But what we've talked with lots of teachers, and they've said what would be really interesting is that when we open up Storybird, it's nice that they can make an assignment, but they were asking what if there were already existing assignments, new assignments that they could choose from. So we're working on a new tool that allows people to create lesson plans that then can be, so basically teachers, writers, artists, all sorts of people can create lesson plans and share them with other teachers. And then those teachers can give those to their students. So that you guys maybe, so maybe for instance, like in the United States, I understand, I think it's grade 5 where you guys learn about mythology.
We're in 4th.
So you're in 4th. Okay, so I think next year, mythology is going to be something you guys are going to have to deal with, right? Now, what if a teacher in Greece, where there's a lot of the mythological stories they come from, what if that teacher could create a mythology lesson plan that then your teacher could just basically say, oh, I love that, and I'm going to give that to my students and they can use that. So we're excited about something like that because lesson plans are a way of kind of taking a lot of really good ideas that get students excited and being able to share them with teachers all around the world. So those are a few things. But more importantly, what do you guys think that, you know, if you were in charge of Storybird, what would you either fix or what would you add to the platform?
I would do the same thing like you said, like make a collection so you can choose your own.
Yeah, that's a big one.
I would, well, I would do the same thing, but I would make it easier. Like if you wanted to make your own art, you could just take a picture of it and you just have to upload it to somewhere and it would automatically appear in your collection if you wanted.
Got it.
Next
Well,
question.
if you were to name Storybird another name, what would you want it to be?
Well, actually, Storybird wasn't our original name. When I came up with the idea, I don't know why, but I wanted to call it Bluebird. There was just something about that name that I really liked. It, you know, it just felt pretty and small and kind of, you know, a bluebird. It's sort of light, it makes nice little noises. And so we tried to get the rights, the ability to use that name, but the company that owned the rights to that name wouldn't sell it to us. And so my co-founder and I were going through, and if you guys ever start your own website, you're going to deal with this issue as well, which is you have to come up with a name that's available that you can use. So we kept trying to find names, and one day we were just looking at all these names that when you go and do searches for names that are available, oftentimes it'll spit back to you a list of like, well, this isn't available, but these names are available. And somewhere on that list was Storybird. And I remember very distinctly Kay was saying, well, why don't we just use Storybird? And I was like, no, that's not unique. I want my Bluebird. But we were so tired of trying to come up with new names that eventually we just said, fine, we're going to call it Storybird. So that's how we wound up with the name. I would have called it Bluebird. And the other reason I liked Bluebird is that we had always planned that Bluebird would be the name for the storytelling service for young writers and readers. But we have a lot of teenagers who around 13, 14, 15, they're a little bit more mature. They want to write about things that are a little darker, a little deeper. And so we always thought that then we would create something called Blackbird, which is more the darker mysteries and gothic stories that they like writing at that age. But we never use Bluebird, and Storybird works as it works, so that's the name we've got. Okay, I have to turn it around on you guys. If you had to come up with a good name for Storybird, what would you call it?
I don't know. I like it already.
Well, I'm glad.
Same.
Yeah,
Same way.
it's a good name.
I think it is. I think I mean, it sort of tells you a little bit. It's obviously about stories. And there's something about birds where, if you think about birds, they have wings, they fly. There's such a great idea about being able to sort of take your imagination and kind of go out into the world. So I don't know, it works for me too.
So that kind of answered another question, a follow-up question I had about like, why would you like to put the word bird in the title of your website?
Well, I think you're right. I think at the end of the day, I don't really know why Bluebird ever came into my head, but once it did, it stuck. And, you know, I spend my time between some different cities. We're in Canada, and I've spent a lot of my time between my hometown of Montreal, Toronto, and a place in the country where I live. And in the place in the country, we have trees everywhere. We live right by a river, and there are birds all the time, all sorts of birds, all different varieties, always singing and chirping. And I don't know, it's just, there's something about birds that, I don't know about you guys, but you know when you wake up in the morning and the first sound you hear are birds outside, there's just something really, it feels good, right? It's just, it's a nice sound and it makes you happy. So I think bird is it works.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was
So-
your dream job in college?
Oh, in college, well, in college I studied journalism. I thought I was going to be a writer for a newspaper. And then my girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife, we've been together for forever. We're high school sweethearts. We decided to go start our own business. So we started a daycare. And for about 3 years, we ran a business, which was a daycare where we worked with young kids from about 1 to 5 years of age. And we really loved it, and I thought it was great. But what I really wanted to do was work in film. And eventually I made my way into the film industry and became an editor. That's somebody who, just like with books, somebody has to edit the stories and kind of help them be better. Editors work with directors and their footage to turn them into strong visual stories. But it was the mix of journalism, telling stories, editing, which was all about pictures, and doing the daycare, which was all about kids, that I think eventually kind of came together and helped me come up with the idea for Storybird, because that's what it is, right? It's about pictures, it's about stories, and it's about kids.
Well, is there something you'd like to tell us about Storybird that you didn't get the chance to today?
Well, I mean, just like you guys, we have hundreds of stories about Storybird itself. I think one of the things you guys should know is that, like when you guys go to a website or an app on your phone, you know, you guys interact with that thing, but you never meet the people who make it. And I think one of the things you guys should know is that the people who make Storybird, the whole team, they love, one of the things we all love about Storybird is not just the art and not just that we made it simple to use or whatever. What we love are all of you guys. The fact that you're using it to tell stories and that gets you excited, or it's helping you write about things that you feel deeply about. Maybe, you know, you and your friend had a big fight, or your parents are divorced, or you're getting a new baby brother or sister, or any of the things that come up. Storybird is this great way to talk about it and think about it, to read people's stories who are going through that, or for you to share them. And behind the scenes, we love that. We just get so excited that this has become an important part of people's lives. And you know, I don't know what jobs you guys have to do around the house, what chores you have to do, but you know, running a company is work. You have things you have to do. You have to make sure things happen at a certain time. Like anything else, sometimes it's boring or hard, or you get anxious about things, or you get upset about things, or you get tired. And so knowing that you guys are there on the other end and enjoying it and making friends with it, or learning more about yourselves, or just having a good time reading stories, that makes us so much happier. And it's what actually drives us to make Storybird as good as it is. I don't know if you guys have ever seen, do you guys know about APT, Apartment, the book, which is the discussion forum? So if you guys know about that, you know that a girl in the UK who goes by Cookie54, Cookie54 lover, but Cookie for short, started that.
Yeah. And
Cookie is now an older teenager. She started on Storybird a long time ago. So she's almost, I think now, like 18 or something like that. And I've gotten to know her a little bit. And one time she asked me, how long do you want to keep doing Storybird? And I said, I would like to do Storybird is when your daughter starts writing on the platform. Because that's how I think about it. And I think a lot of us on the team think about it, that one day you guys will be grown-ups and you may have kids, and those kids, just like you today, might want to tell stories or might want to share stories. And if there's a place like Storybird, then I think we've done a really great job in making that happen. So that's what you guys should know. You matter immensely to us, and you're the reason we keep doing it.
Yeah, one last question. Well, one last very quick question.
Okay.
Which age would you recommend writing stories the most?
Well, based on that idea that 7 to 15-year-olds are sort of the majority of the people on the platform, and it's slightly more female, I would definitely say the tween, like the middle school tween, category is very popular, and early teen. Because a lot of kids read up. Like, I don't know about you, but whatever age you are, you tend to read above your age, right? So what we tend to find is that stories for 11, 12, 13, 14, that's really the most interesting to people. And because it's slightly more female, we see sort of magical stuff, romance stuff, adventure, and family. And then, whether it's humor or dark or, more diary style, whatever the genre is, those are the themes that are the most popular. But I'd say like tween to early teen is kind of the core piece.
Yeah, I read those type of books too on Storybird. And to wrap it up, thank you for having the interview with us. And once again, we are the tech team
from Design 39 campus.
Well, thank you guys so much for inviting me to chat with you. I love talking to people like you and just getting an idea about what you like. So thank you. And I hope to see you guys on Storybird.
Bye.
Bye.